All right, welcome. This is Orion Rising. I'm your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into the show. It's Friday night. At least here in America it is. Over in California it is. For the North American continent, it's Friday. If you're on the other side of the planet, it's Saturday morning. Welcome. Welcome. Okay, so right, you guys can see. Welcome. I can see some of you in the chat there. Already said Jacqueline hi. I said hi to you in the chat. Right, Denise, welcome. Julie, welcome. Right, everybody, welcome. Show this out. Show this out. Show this out. Okay, so today I'm going to be discussing the greatest lies ever told. I'm sure you saw that in the description, and I have a list of some of the big ones. And it's not just now with politics, although also now with politics, right? But I'm talking about the greater lies, the biggest lies, right? And the lies that they've been telling for a while, right? I know Julie says there you are. I know we decided to take Wednesday off again this week. Everybody decided. Reese, welcome, my friend. Welcome. Welcome from down under, right? So we decided to take Skull Island off this week. Well, hopefully, we'll be back next week. Everybody was kind of all this craziness going on with the full moon, now the new moon, which is Tuesday, I believe. I haven't looked it up 100%, but I believe it's Tuesday. So the moon has been waning, right? It's been waning, but the energy is not waning, right? The energy has been crazy because we're getting closer and closer to the end of this 3 year activation that has been foretold for more than 10,000 years, probably longer than that. I believe longer than that, because we're now aware for 100% certainty that we have evidence, actual places where we know people lived at least 12,000 years ago, and even further back than that. We have skeletal remains of I've seen skeletal remains of, I don't know what they're calling her, but from 130,000 years ago, a native girl here in the West Coast, or no, I don't know if it's I think it's the West Coast, but definitely in the United States. Um, and I saw what she looked like. She was 4'7". She was 23 or 24 years old when she died. And they did that whole thing they do with the skull where they put it back together, and they can tell by the shape of the skull the density of the skin, and so they do a computer model and you can see what the actual person looked like, give or take hair color and pigment of the skin, but you can still with the DNA kind of get that description as well. So I've actually seen what this woman looked like in life, and she was about 4'7", which was kind of tall for 130,000 years ago for women, right? Men would have been about maybe 5 foot at that time. So 4'7" is tall, right? So Tony, welcome, right? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Share this out, share this out. Okay, so I think this goes back even further than that. A lot of this goes back to the beginning of the human race on this planet or anywhere else in the universe, but specifically because this is where we are, is on this planet. So specifically on this planet, you have to realize that I don't know, and I don't believe, but it's possible. I don't know whether or not this planet supported third dimensional, third density life going back to prior to the veiling. Because there was a time in the universal mindset that was before the veiling, before we didn't know who we were, before this trap that we're in. And that's one of the lies that they told. No, this is not a penal colony. This is not a prison planet designed, operated, or in any way utilized by third dimensional beings. Okay. In a sense, it is, but it was designed that way. So it's not a nefarious thing that was designed by people to punish other people at all. It's the first thing you need to get out of your mind. Okay, it's one of the biggest lies that evil people are trying to tell, because they want you. If you believe that you're in a prison, then you're in a prison. Do you understand? Do you get that? So Right? Jacqueline said, "Hello, beloved masters." Right? Yeah. How many people here? What's everybody's life? Do you guys know your life number? I didn't even know what that was until about 5 years ago, and Ray, the Oracle, asked me. I said, "I have no idea what life number. What is that?" She said, "When were you born?" I said, "September 10th, 1967." And she did the math and a quick heartbeat and said, "Oh my God, you're a 33. That's an ascended master. Are you aware?" I was like, "I don't even know what that number means," right? Jacqueline 22, right? So there you go, right? And the 33 is the most rare because it's the combination of the 11 and the 22, which are the ascended masters. And so those of us who got both, we got 11 and 22. 11 plus 22 is 33. So then it descends to 4, just like 33 becomes 6, right? Or yeah, it becomes 6, but it's still it's not the same, but you still have some of the qualities. So the 22 for Jacqueline is an ascended master. And then, if you take it down to 2 plus 2 equals 4, like mine would be 3 plus 3 equals 6, then you have some of those traits. So it's sort of like, I know this doesn't have much to do with the great lies, but it does. You'll see as we go. Okay. So it's sort of like your sun sign, your astrological sign. When you're born, say, on the cusp of two different signs, you have kind of the qualities and temperaments and stuff that come from both of those. It's the same thing with the 22 and the 4, like Jacqueline was talking about, right? And yeah, there you go. So she's put it on the screen there as lifepath.com, right? It says seventhlifepath.com. You guys can take a look at that, your number, if you don't know what it is. But it's actually kind of easy because you take the day, the month, the day, and the year that you were born. And all numbers, like if there's two numbers, if you're born in, say, October, that's 10, right? You would say 1 plus 0 is 1, or 11 is 1 plus 1 is 2. And then the date, the day you were born of the month, same thing. If it's two numbers, like you saw where Jacqueline said 22 or 4, or 22 and 4, you add them up, and then you do the same. So you add them individually, the month and day, and then you add the year, and then you add the month, day, and the year all together to whatever, and then that gives you the total number. And then the same thing if you reduce the stuff down, but first you add them up, like Jacqueline said. You add them up and see what that number is, and then if you reduce it by, like she said, if you get a 22 or mine at 33, the 11, the 22, and the 33 are special numbers, and they are in the universe, and the whole, that's like 13 and that kind of stuff. But you can read in there, you can figure that out if you go to that website that she posted, and then you can find out what your thank you again, Jacqueline. She said, "My pleasure." Right. So okay, so the biggest lies that were ever told, one was this bullshit that this is a penal colony. Now, for lies to work, and this is why I wanted to talk about this, right? For lies to work, you have to tell a little truth with many lies. That is literally what the devil, there is no devil either, by the way. That was another lie. That's what evil people do. They tell you a little bit of truth. Politicians do this all the time. They give you a little bit of truth, and then they warp that and tell you a bunch of lies. Here's a for instance, right? Oh no, we've gotten this leaked document from one of the chief justices in the Supreme Court saying they're going to overturn, keyword here, overturn Roe versus Wade. Now, what that means in reality, for those of you who are in America, Roe versus Wade was the original lawsuit that allowed abortion to be legal. And then eventually somebody decided that it should be illegal throughout the land. And the Supreme Court bought into it because at the time they were a progressive leaning Supreme Court, politically motivated when they're not supposed to be. And the Supreme Court that it's in there now, everyone wants to say that they're politically leaning towards the conservative side, which they're not. And they voted, if you will look at what they voted instead of listening to politicians, you'll see that even the people that say the orange guy put into office voted against him on many occasions. Okay, so they're not right now, they're mostly constitutionalists, and that pisses off the progressives on both sides, whether you're a progressive Democrat or a ultra conservative, not ultra MAGA, but an ultra conservative. There is a difference. and you're a forever swamper. Those guys hate the Supreme Court because it's supposed to be not politically motivated, and they want to make it politically motivated. Okay, so the lie or the truth in there is that overturning Roe versus Wade does not make, there's the lie. The truth is it overturns the portion of the law that says it's legal throughout all of the United States. That's it. That doesn't mean that it's illegal throughout all of the United States. It says that then, and this is what was written in his thing, and if they're going to vote on it and they do enact this, it said then it has to go back to the states, and the individual states then have to vote. That means you, if you're an American citizen, every single person can then vote. Unless your state doesn't give you the vote, like in California, they're not giving anyone the vote. They're just enacting a law without putting it to the people, which is illegal, but they're doing it and no one's trying to stop them. Now, I'm not saying that in California they would stop them because most of the people in California want it to be legal. Okay. So if you live in a state where it's already legal and your state already has that enacted, which is most of the states in the United States. Okay. Only 23 states, only 13 would immediately flip, and only 23 are in question with the 13. So another 10 out of all of the states in the union. All the rest, it's legal. So by them doing this, it's not overturning and making it illegal throughout the land at all. At all. It's just saying that the federal government and the courts should not be telling people what they can and can't do with their bodies, which is what everybody who's pro-abortion is claiming. Okay, so they're trying to say that by saying that, they're taking that away from you and making it illegal, which they're not, because you have a vote on that. So it kicks back to the states, all the states individually vote, and people go, well, I hate that because what if I move from another state? Well, then those are things you have to pay attention to, right? And just like my wife wanted me to move to the state of Virginia, and I said, at the time I drank, and now I'm sober, and I'm coming up on my 80th day, by the way. I have to look at the calendar, or my 90th day. It's coming up, I think, next week. I think it's on the new moon. It might be Tuesday. I'll have to look. Hold on. I'm going to look because I'm very proud of that. I'm almost at 90 days. Jacqueline, you would be proud. Jacqueline is kind of like my mentor and the person who's kind of keeping an eye on me just in case I get off the wagon, but I don't plan on having that issue. So let me look here on the calendar because I actually put it on my calendar. I don't have my glasses on. It is the 31st. So it is, in fact, Tuesday, the day of the new moon. New startings is my 90th day. 90 day, I don't have a coin, but it'll be my 90 day sober. But when I was drinking, and she said, I want to move to the state of Virginia. I said, wait a minute, I don't want to move there because the state government regulates alcohol, and you have to only buy alcohol from the state government. You can't just buy it from some company. The company has to buy it from the state government. The state government charges retail, which means that everybody else jacks the prices up higher. So alcohol is super high in that state. I'd have to go outside the state, and then I'm illegally importing alcohol like a bootlegger just to get a cheaper price. And she says, I do it all the time. So everybody just does that. They break the laws like bootleggers. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, by the way. So there's other things that were a factor as well, but that was one of them, and like off the top of my head. And at the time, it was kind of important. Hey, I drink alcohol, and I'm going to be fucking paying, I'm already paying $12, $10 to $12 for cheap ass vodka. I'm going to go to the state of Virginia, and I'm going to have to pay $20 for the same fucking vodka. Why would I want to do that? That's crazy, stupid. I don't want to do that. I don't like a state in the union who starts dictating to me what I can and can't do, just like here in the state of California with the whole gun laws that they have out here are just insane, and they're tyrannical. So I'm going to be leaving the state of California as soon as I can get the hell up out of the state. And I was born here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but it's become very fascist, and they're still trying it. I mean, look what's going on right now. I don't want to get involved in that politics because that's not what the show's about today. I should do a show on that, talking about this whole thing that's going on that's horrific that just happened in 10 days earlier. Weird. Strange, I will bring this up, strange that there's some questions that need to be answered about what happened here. This 18-year-old kid, mind you, is using an AR-15 and a 9mm handgun, Weird that these guys only use the weapons that the progressives are trying to outlaw to kill people. Weird, because those aren't the most popular weapons that are owned by people. It's the most popular weapon bought in the last like 5 years, but it's not the most popular weapon that's out there. So these people are like going to a store. Is that what they're doing? They're going to, then they're picking, they go to rob somebody and go, I don't want that. That's a 22 caliber. I don't want that. It's an AK-47. I don't want that. That's an Uzi. I need a 9mm handgun and an AR-15. Right? And that's what they go and they get. And then they go out and they do this stuff, which is weird. Okay. So that in and of itself is bizarre. But there were some other questions that I had that you guys might want to be paying attention to. Then we'll get back to the lies, because this is part of the lies. Because now the governor of the state of Texas is freaking out because they lied to him. The police officers lied to him about what they did and the procedures about what they did. And it came out. So there were some lies that went on. So I'm not going to get too involved. I'm just going to tell you a few of the things and then get back into these other lies that they've been telling historically. But you have to ask yourself, why is it, first of all, in Texas, all schools are locked? Okay, so the doors can open from the inside because we have laws that say you have to be able to get out of something. So you can open the door from the inside, but they're locked. And when they close, they're locked from the outside. No one can get in. Okay, the school door was propped open. And all classrooms are supposed to be closed and locked as well. And weird that the one classroom that he wanted to go to was also unlocked. And even more so, that was weird. And this one has one of those weird kind of connotations that I haven't figured out yet. And I could be wrong just because there could be some other information that I don't know. But the way it was told by all the news agencies is that the guy who was the truant officer, that's what we call them out in California, he's the cop or the rent-a-cop who does the job of making sure kids and tracking down kids and bringing them back to school. He was called because there was some craziness going on, and he apparently drove by the kid who had the gun, and the kid was crouching behind a car. But in his words, and this is where the information is supposedly coming from, I didn't know it was the kid. I thought it was someone else. And I heard that somebody on the other side of the school might be the shooter. So I drove past the guy and went there. But the weird thing is, he says, I didn't notice him. Well, if you didn't notice him, how do you know he was there? And how do you know that was the gunman at the time? This is the weird thing about that. It wasn't like, one of the teachers said they saw the guy drive by and saw the shooter. That's not the report. The report is coming from the guy driving, and he says, I didn't notice the guy. I thought he was someone else. Oh, wait a minute. So that means you noticed him, but you didn't notice that he was wearing body armor and had an AR-15 in his hand. That's weird. So how do you know now, after you drove by him, that that was the guy? How do you know that? If you didn't know it was him at the time, what makes you think you saw the guy and it was the guy that went into the school? Oh, I think it's because the video shows the guy standing there in the parking lot with the AR-14 or 15 wearing all black and with armor and his hoodie up. So I can see the gun in his hand in this grainy ass picture, but the guy driving right next to him couldn't tell that and kept driving. That's weird, but he also knew retrospectively, oh, wait, that was the guy. Okay, that's a question that I want to know. Why was the school door propped open when it wasn't supposed to be? Who did that? They're in trouble. Why was the classroom not locked so that he could get in without having to break the door down? The doors don't go in, so you can't kick him in. The doors open out, so he'd have to pry it to open it, but it was unlocked, and he went in and shot everybody up. Was that the only classroom he found that was unlocked? Was it the first classroom by the door? There's a lot of fucking questions that need to be answered. Then, for an hour, there was 18 cops outside the door, which he locked from the inside, by the way, and nobody could find the janitor for almost 40 minutes to unlock the door for them to go in until this REACT team shows up from Border Patrol agents. And they're going to go in and go after the kid. Okay, so there's a lot of questions, man. I'm not trying to say anything is nefarious here, but it just seems weird that the out here in California, and this is part of the lies. This is why I'm getting here, and then we'll go. And I know you guys a lot of you are going, oh my God, he's talking about politics, but Okay, out here in California, everybody across the nation, mostly, right, in almost every state, because we're leading up to November where we have these elections, midterm elections coming up. So, all of the primary runoffs to find out who's going to be running on the Democrat and who's going to be running on the Republican side have been happening in the last month. California's is coming up here. I have the stuff to vote, and it's coming up. I'm going to vote tomorrow, and it's coming up soon. It's in June, right? Okay, so all of the ads out here in California didn't have anything to run on. Then all of a sudden, there's the leak from the for the Roe versus Wade abortion. Then we have two 18-year-old kids with an AR-15 and a 9mm handgun who shoot up a school in 10 days, right? And then what else? Oh, and then because of that, gun lobbying. Okay. So then all of a sudden, every single Democrat ad on television is like for Gavin Newsom, the governor, he's running to be reelected for governor. Gavin Newsom is going to fight to make abortion legal in the state of California, which it already is on the laws. So what is he doing? Then it says Gavin Newsom fought against Texas's radical abortion law. And I was like, what exactly did Gavin Newsom, the governor of the state of California, have to do with a law in Texas? I looked it up. He said, well, by the way, you guys did that law to make abortion illegal. I'm going to use the same technique you used to make guns illegal in the state of California, which he hasn't done because it's unconstitutional. That's the only thing he did. It wasn't like he lobbied against Texas and tried to sue Texas to stop Texas from making abortion illegal. The people in the state of Texas voted to make abortion illegal, even though the United States Supreme Court said it was legal, and they're the ones who filed, along with 23 other states, a lawsuit saying that was unconstitutional, and that's what they're trying to figure out right now. Okay, and if that is in fact unconstitutional, which it looks like it is, then they're going to overturn that, and then it goes back to the states. So now all of a sudden, and then they said, well, because of them overturning Roe versus Wade, the next thing they're going to do is come after all gay people and trans people and the alphabet people, which has gotten crazy out of control with letters now. Okay. And I'd have to pull up my phone. In fact, I'm going to. Let me pull up my phone and tell you all the letters that are in the LGBTQ. That's not the end of it anymore. Okay, let me tell you all these. I gotta put my glasses on for this because it's kind of crazy, all the letters and shit that they added to this. And I'm sure they're gonna add more because I can think of a few that they left out that they should have in for different kind of sexual people who are sexually something else. So hold on, let me pull this up here and get to it. Then we'll get back to all the lies because this is part of the whole thing. Okay, so now we have the LGBTQ is now, hold on, I got to find the long version here, is now LGB, this is not a joke, is now LGBTQQIP2SAAK. I'm not kidding. Okay. And what that stands for is lesbian, gay, bi, TT, not just one T, two T's. So it's LGBTQQIP2SAAK. Okay. So it's lesbian, gay, transsexual, transgender, right? Queer. What's the other one? That's QQ. What's the other Q? Hold on. I got to change the page here. Queer and questioning, right? So it's transgender, transsexual, queer, questioning, two souls. Okay. Two souls. What's the A? Hold on. Asexual, and then alliance, allied with, meaning that you're stand with them. You're not gay or bi or trans or any of the other alphabets, but you're an ally to them. And then K for kink. Right? Did I miss anything? Oh, I missed the I and the P, didn't I? What is the I and the P? Hold on, I got to find the page that has that. It's crazy. It is. It's actually kind of crazy. So, what is the I and the P? Where is it? It's here somewhere. I swear. I didn't make any of this up. I had to copy and paste this. Two spirits. Identifier with two spirits. Maybe that's what that was. The I and the, I don't know. It's here somewhere, but I'm going too fast. I apologize for that. I'm flipping back and forth instead of just staying reading it. I guess it's not as important, but it's just insane that they keep adding these new letters to it. Eventually, it's going to be every alphabet letter, or you know what I mean, or I don't know. It's crazy. And then I love how how we have the A-E-I-O-U and sometimes Y. That's what the K is, and sometimes K. Oh, okay. Intersects is the I, and then what is P? I don't see it, but it's here. It's here on the list, but I don't see what they say P is. It intersects. Let me see if I can read. Referred to array, initials, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, transgender, intersex, queer, questioning, two-spirit, allied. I don't know what the P is. It's here somewhere, and I can't find it right now. I wrote this down the other day and I put a whole thing out and what it all meant, but I don't have it here on my phone. So I apologize for that. But that's insane. They're just adding more and more stuff. What about people who like animals and goats and that kind of stuff? They don't have anything here about pedophiles yet. Or maybe that's what the P is, pedophilia. I don't think that's what that is. It's something else. Okay. So I'm not saying that that's a lie. I'm just saying that that's getting kind of crazy and out of control, right? Right? Can we just take it down to PP, right? Pokey and poker, right? That's funny, right? Pokey and poker. I get it. That's funny. Alphabet soup. I know. That's why we're already calling them the alphabet people here in the United States too, just because, you can't. I mean, before it was just you could say LGBTQ community, but now it's all these other things too. You go to, and some of them are in Canada only, and sometimes K, and I'm just like carry the Y, and 1 + 2 = 4, and I don't know what's going on. Okay, let's get back to the lies now. Okay, so historically, first of all, right, the evil people wanted you to know a bunch of shit, and this is what they did with converting the religions, especially at the council, first and second council of Nicaea, but there was also other councils, right? So the religion has been morphed. They take everything. I was just watching. Here's another lie. Look at the swastika. Okay, the Germans took the swastika. Thank you, Denise. The P is for pansexual. That's what the P stands for, and I don't know why I couldn't find that. It's probably right there in front of me, and I'll look now, and it'll be there. For some reason, I was going past it too fast. So the P is for pansexual, and then sometimes K for kink, which kink is kind of cool. Kinky, right? Okay, so they went into the religions. First of all, a lot of people like to say the religions were created, right? That's part of the big lie. The big lie is taking everything. We'll get to the swastika in a second. I didn't just pass over that and forget about it because I talked about pansexual. They take everything and they try to turn it upside down. They take something and then they try to corrupt that and make it evil so that you don't want to have any part of it. So all holy symbols, all holy signs, all holy drawings and pictures, that everybody freaks out. The Illuminati uses them all now. So everyone goes, that's an Illuminati symbol. People look at me like, and you do this. They go, that's an Illuminati symbol. Oh my God, that's an Illuminati symbol. That is American Sign Language for I love you. Okay, so this is an Illuminati symbol. No, it's not. That's the American eagle. That's flipping you the bird. That means fuck you. Okay, so I don't see that one coming up yet as an Illuminati symbol. Isn't that weird how they don't do that? And then the English with the two fingers, right? That means the same thing. Fuck you. Okay, so they haven't turned that into Illuminati symbol because those mean fuck you. Okay, but everything else, right? Oh, that's an Illuminati symbol. This, right? Oh my God, that's an Illuminati symbol. That means rock and roll in the United States. I was joking about that or laughing about that because I'm 54 years old. I'm sorry, I'm 54 years old. And when I was a kid, that didn't mean rock and roll. It did, but it meant hail Satan, because Satanism back then was the anti-establishment. So everybody who was into rock and roll was into Satanism, not because they worshiped the devil, but because that was the rebel of a fuck you, right? But the truth is that this is actually an ancient symbol that wards off evil. Believe it or not, when you point that at somebody like this, or that means that's warding off evil. That's not an evil symbol. So they've turned that. They tried to turn that into the goat head. Okay, so they do that with everything. So the swastika, if you say it right, the swastika comes from India and further back than that in that whole region, not just India, but the entire region that is that area of what they call Asia Minor. And there's a group of people who utilize that 500 years before the Roman Empire took control. In fact, it was no, during the Roman Empire, and the Romans actually fought against these people who actually used that symbol. That symbol is the symbol for the sun, and it is a symbol that wards off evil. Okay, but the reason that the Nazis used it is because they knew in the 30s, 1930s, what scientists worldwide are just now proving, that the Aryan race, the Vikings, had conquered the known world, everything except for Africa at the time. And this is proven now. The whole thing started because of this whole out of Africa. And see, this is truth. These are not lies. The out of Africa theory that we all came from out of Africa and that they basically started the whole world. Okay, that would only work if I had African DNA. I don't. I don't have any African DNA in my body. I've had my DNA tested, not because I was trying to find out that I'm special whiteness. I just wanted to know what all my DNA was. So I went to Ancestry.com. I don't work for them. I'm not getting paid by them, but that's who I used. It doesn't matter because if you use most of the apps that you use, your DNA are owned by the Mormon church anyways. So it doesn't really matter who you use. If you're in the northern hemisphere of the, or actually, northern hemisphere of the planet itself, and mostly all over the world, and you have anything that you're going to check your DNA and it's a company, if you look hard enough, you're going to find out it's the Mormon church. Okay, so it doesn't matter who you say. 22andMe, that's also the Mormon church. Okay, so most of the big apps that you use or the big companies that you use are owned by the Mormon church, right? So I'm not getting paid by the Mormon church. I'm not Mormon. Okay, so I have 0% African DNA. All of my DNA, 99 or actually 95% of my DNA comes from Europe, Southern, Western, and Northern Europe. Okay. I have what they say, I have 3% what they call Greco-Roman, Greek Roman. Okay. And that's because the Greeks and the Romans took over a lot of Western and Southern and Europe. So my people live there. I'm mostly Celtic. Most of my DNA is Scottish, Irish, Welsh. Okay, and then I have a lot of Scandinavian, which is basically all the Viking races put together. Right. My DNA comes actually from Spain, from the west coast of Spain. I know that because I am typo negative, and that is only 10% of the population of the world, and the largest percentage of that, all of typo and typo negative DNA, is traced back to the west coast of Spain. The Irish and the Celts that became the Welsh, the Irish, and the Scots, and mostly the English as well, came from Spain. People don't know that. The Irish know it. They came from Spain and moved to Ireland, and they call the invasion, they call it the two invasions, first and second invasion of Ireland. The first one, just like the Vikings who came to North America, they all got slaughtered, and the second wave came, and then they ended up moving and going back home because the Native Americans and them didn't get along well, and they were fighting, so they left. But over in Ireland, same thing happened. The people that were living there, and I can't pronounce the name of what they called them, there was already indigenous people there. They didn't like the Spanish coming in, and they fought. Okay, so I don't have any of that DNA. So but they, because of the out of Africa theory, the guys in Australia, which was Stephen and Evan Strong, got together with scientists in Australia, and they started checking DNA to find out the Australians don't look African, even though they're dark. They look very European, but with black skin, very dark skin. So they tested the DNA, and they showed that their DNA from there was mingling with all of the people on the mainland of India and all the way back, and that's weird. So from that, the scientists of the world started testing the DNA of old skeletons all over the world in that area, in that region of all of Asia and Europe, and they found out that the Norwegians, the Vikings from Norway, conquered all the way over to China, to Mongolia, down to India, into Australia, and then eventually they had been pushed back. Now that goes in with, right, he says the brawn, right? Peter says the brawn. Yes, Peter knows. He knows what he's talking about. That's the DNA of the people. So we've already found these skeletons way over in Mongolia who were tall, red-haired, red beard, tattooed, wearing kilts people, and they called that group of people the horse people. That's why you have in like Lord of the Rings, you have the humans that were in charge of all the horses. They were the horse people, because in real life those people were the ones who invented the bridle, and they invented the stirrups and the whole nines, and they had trade all across the known world at the time. So there was an empire that was alive then, and they covered that up for a long time. It's part of the big lies that they're trying to tell. Because why? Because the people that are in charge right now didn't come from Norway. They're not Vikings. They came from what we call Middlesex, Middle Earth. Okay, so they're actually not kings and queens, and they're fucking commoners. To be honest, if you're a Viking from the south or the west or the north of all of that, all of us know that all those people in the inner thing there that are the ones that, like the Germans and the Austrians, they're not fucking royalty. They're fucking the what we would consider the slave races that we preyed upon, right? So that's no joke. So they lie about that because they're like, we're the royalty and they're the slave races. That's why they tried to eradicate those races. You can tell a group of people who are not what they claim to be because they abuse a certain race. Where hence the Germans with the Jews. You have the Americans when they got to America with the natives in America. You have the French and the English in Canada, French on one side, English on the other, trying to eradicate all of the Native Americans from their genocide being attempted all across the United States, the whole northern hemisphere of the planet. Of North and South Americas, including into the Central America and down in South America, right? So that tells you that those people who came here, these Europeans who claim to be royalty, aren't. Otherwise, they wouldn't try to murder and kill that many people continuously to this day and make it okay. Okay, they were trying to eradicate those people, punishing them for something. Okay, so you got to figure out what's going on there. So if you go back in time, you have that happening in Ireland. The English did it to the Irish, they did it to the Scottish. You go further back in time, the Romans did it. Okay, so it happens that these people were all over the place doing this. So now, why is any of that important? Because when the Romans were in charge, even back then, Julius Caesar, who eventually was assassinated by all the Parliament, by the way, Julius Caesar burned Alexandria, the library that had all the information. Why did he do that? To prove a point? No, he did that because they were eradicating the history of the people of this planet, even back then. So we're looking at, like AD 100 or 200 or whenever the fuck he was in charge, right? In fact, it was BC. I don't even think it was AD. It was BC something. So it was like 2,500 years ago. The Romans were in charge when Jesus was crucified, and Julius, I believe, happened before that. Okay. So even so that far back, the lies were already there, and they were corrupting the religions, they were corrupting everything, and they were lying about everything because they didn't want people to understand what was really going on or understand. Okay. So we have the religions, and they have all of that. They took all of the information away out of all the books, out of the religion, out of the Bibles, and only gave us the Bible that we have today. And that has no information prior to the deluge. And the deluge is, God was mad and God tried to kill us all off and smited us down, which is a lie in and of itself. Okay, it wasn't God that did that. It was the Atlanteans, some of them who left, and the other ones who stayed here to take control and to keep everybody stupid to rule the planet. The other ones left and tried to murder their own friends. Okay, and they were marooned here because the Luciferians, these people who claim that, well, you came here because we own the planet. You didn't fucking, you guys came down here, you got big-headed, you almost destroyed the planet. Welcome, Omar. There's Watchers Talk in the house right there, right in the chat. That way. Anyway, so they lied, and most of them left. There was a civil war within the Atlantean people, and there was already a war that had been fighting at the time. Moldeck got blown up. They had towed the moon over here, which is a space station that couldn't work. The engine was cut out and blown. I don't know if they've gotten it fixed now, but 3,500 years ago or whenever it was, I think it was even further back than that. I'm hearing 10 to 12,000 years ago. That moon didn't work anymore, and that was a satellite. Hey, there's Rob. And that was a satellite. Welcome, Rob. That was a satellite of Moldeck, by the way. And they brought it here to put it in the place where it is to keep our ecosystem working. So they did that because they were saving themselves, but they were doing that because they wanted to take control of the planet. So they lied about everything. They changed everything, told us this is a penal colony, and that it was set up as a prison planet just like Australia was, and that people were bringing prisoners here. That's a fucking lie. That entire thing was fabricated, just like there's a devil. There was no devil anywhere in any scripture at all, just nefariousness, no devil at all described until the Second Council of Nicaea. And the people in the Eastern Orthodox Church had borrowed because they were trying to convert all the Chinese. So the Chinese had this whole ideology of different layers of hell. So because they had different layers of hell, they had a devil involved in their religion. So they added that to Christianity, which they say was invented by the Romans anyway. But it's weird because the only people who actually claim that are the Jewish people trying to still discredit Christianity and Jesus, because they say that their religion is the true religion, which it's also a lie and wrong. Okay. And now I'm not coming from, know this, some of you out there, most of you in the audience know my credentials. I'm not coming to you because I'm just some guy who thinks this, okay? I have spent my entire life, and this is no joke, let me take my glasses off so you can see this. I have spent, well, I can't say my entire life because I wasn't when I was 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years old, right? So by the time I was like 12 or so, then I was from then until now. So most of my entire life has been spent researching history, researching religions, researching all of the scriptures, all of this stuff. Okay, I was knighted, or I am knighted. I was in the past knighted by the Roman Catholic Church. So I have a stir title. So I am a knight. Okay, and that makes me clergy. I'm also been ordained as a minister, Christian minister. So I am not coming at you from a standpoint of an atheist who is trying to discredit religions. I'm coming at you from a person who is clergy, who does believe in Jesus, who does believe in God, who knows that these religions have been corrupted by these people. So this is part of the lies that they're telling. Okay, so then they got you to believe that you didn't have an immortal soul by plucking all of those scrolls out and burning them all. Alexandria burned down all these other places. They went on this Renaissance, which was supposed to be this time of of woohoo, it's the new era, and they burned all the fucking books. Right? It's the only reason we have any of the books that we have now. You can look this up. It's not another lie. You can look this up. The Irish monks stole every document that we have. The Irish, the Scottish, and the Welsh stole every document that we have on file except for the stuff they found since then, like at the Dead Sea Scrolls and that shit. And they took them all and hid them in their little monasteries, and they freaking in their churches, and then they rescribed and they copied everything over and over and sent the guys out. Take these books and go to Germany and start a church. You go to Italy and start a church. You go, and that's what they did. And they expanded out, and then they brought all the stuff back. You can look that up. There's a book out there called How the Irish Saved the World. Look that up and you'll find that. Okay, so I'm not lying about that. It's actual history. It's just nobody wants to believe that because the Irish always claim everything when they're drunk, right? We're in charge. We did this and we did that, and everybody laughs at us. So they think that we don't do any of that shit for real, and actually we did. Okay, so here's some more stuff. Jesus, my microphone's now fucking around with me. Now it's too high. Okay, so they lied to you and got you to believe that you don't have an immortal soul just by not telling you that you had one. So you think that only God has the immortal soul and you're just a peasant, which means you're a slave. So that's the caste system that they set up so that you're already thinking that way, that God is in charge and you're just a lowly freaking slave. Okay. And in which case, then you don't have an immortal soul and you have to listen and then you're going to go to hell if you don't do anything that the church tells you, right? And then you have evil people in charge of the churches, and they do nefarious shit and tell you you're going to go to hell if you don't suck their dick. Right. So, or, turn around, little boy, and let me have your ass. You're going to go to hell if you don't let me do this. Right. Oh, and then if you jerk off, then like Peter or Paul, whoever it was that usurped the church because he was gay, then all of a sudden nobody can be married, nobody can have sex because you'll go to hell if you do that too. because he didn't want to get married. He said at the time before he was in charge, it's better to be married than burn, right? Okay, so then they got you to believe that you're a slave, right? And so that's all part of the lies. So then they're trying to tell you this is a penal colony. It's okay. So there's some truth in the lies. Not that you're a slave, but with this whole penal colony thing. How many times do I have to explain how the penal colony works? It's not a penal colony that is being run by somebody that's a corporation or a group of people or aliens who are sitting back in their spaceships and they're over watching us like security guards or prison guards, and they're bringing people in that they don't like and shoving them down here into Earth. That's the lie, but there's a little truth in that. Okay, here's the truth, and I've said this 100 million times, and I can't stress it enough. Here's the truth. You can look this up and find it out for yourself by reading the Dead Sea Scrolls, read the Hermetica, read the stuff, read these old ancient texts that are out there still, and they give you this information. The ones they tried to burn when they tried to get rid of all the information that the Essenes took and hid in the Dead Sea, and we found them because some kid was throwing rocks into the fucking caves when he was bored with his buddy and heard glass break, or it was actually pottery. And they went in and found these scrolls. Half of them were burned. They thought oh, look, firewood. And, it's just like what they did with mummies, burn them. Okay, so they take this information from us, but there is a little truth to that. In the 3D reality, okay, the way things go, and this is what I alluded to earlier about I don't know if the Earth was here in the very beginning. I don't know if the Earth was here before the veiling. Okay, let's get to that. So there is a little bit of truth to the prison planet, but it's not a prison planet. It's a test. Okay. And I've said this I said this on the last show that I was on. I said this on the show before that. It is no different than a baby's playpen. When you are a toddler, people put you in that big playpen and you sleep in there. First, you're in the little bed, the little bassinet, right? Then they put you in the little playpen because you're starting to sit up and stand up. So that's tall enough to where you can't get out yet. So you then, as a child, this is part of your life. You learn how to stand up and hold on and strengthen your legs and fall over and stand up and fall over and stand up and everything. One thinks it's cute and they give you the yay stuff. So they give you encouragement. Then pretty soon you start trying to pull yourself out because you want to be out there because they pick you up sometimes and then they put you back in there, but they pick you up and they take you out and then they put you back in there. So you want to be out. So you're pushing forward and evolving, and eventually you climb out and you fall down, you hit your head or you land on the ground, it hurts, you start crying, you're scared. Your parents come and they pick you back up and they console you. Then the first thing they do is fucking shove you back in there. So you know that you want out. You keep doing that until you learn to climb out and then not cry, and then they find you and you're on the ground like a turtle, but you're not upside down. Sometimes you are. Most of the time you can figure out how to put yourself upright, but you can't do it. What am I doing now? I don't know what to do. So you're laying there and your arms and legs are kind of moving around and you're going, hey, they go, look at me, he's cute, or she's cute. But how did you get down there? And they put you back in there. And eventually you do that and you start scooching. And when they bring you out, they encourage you. And pretty soon you start to figure out that you can crawl, you can move with your hands and legs, and you figure that out. That's evolution. Then you're crawling, and then eventually you stand up and you're holding on to shit. You're falling over. They can encourage you some more. And then eventually you hold on. You stay standing up, and you're standing there by yourself. And they're balanced, and they're all taking pictures and shit. And then eventually you start walking. Then eventually you learn how to run. Do you understand? That is your evolution as a baby that is bringing you into your childhood and eventually into your teenage years and then your adult years. The same thing is happening. That's the microcosm, meaning the tiny version of the macrocosm, which means the big version of what's happening to your body and soul here. This place, you're only trapped here as long as you choose to be, as long as you continue to think with your mind and think your mind is you, and think with your ego and think your ego is you. The test of you standing up and figuring out how to climb out and fall over and not get put back in and stand up is what you're here to do in this place. So they tell you a little bit of truth because in one sense, this is a prison planet. There is no bullshit out there. They got these things out there that if your soul tries to leave, you go into this portal and you get zapped, and then they convince you you're on some mission. There's some more truth with the lies. You're on a mission to save everybody. You have to go back, and therefore you're trapped here. Don't go into the light. That's all bullshit. All of that is bullshit. You can leave here as soon as you actually believe you can. That's what you're supposed to do here. You're supposed to live here long enough to learn all the little teeny things that you need to learn, that you're going to be focusing on as a bigger boy or bigger girl when you graduate and go to college. Okay? Like love, or hate, because there's the other side of the coin. Here you also are supposed to choose what your soul's going to be, a soul in service to others or soul in service to self. I'm a selfish son of a bitch, arrogant, egotistical. It's all about me. Fuck you. I'm going to get whatever I can from you. I'm going to use your ass. Then you're evil. And you've chosen that. So you want to move up in the evil side and have power and control. That's what you got going on with this religion that is politics, that is corporations, that is money, that is this caste system that is set up throughout the land, that they indoctrinate you when you go to schools from the beginning, and then you go to a job and it's set up the exact same way. If you go in the military, it's set up the exact same way. You go to college, it's set up the exact same way. You go into any kind of business, whatever you do in life, it's set up the exact fucking way. So you're set up with this lie that, first of all, money means something and you have to have it. First of all. Secondly, first of all, you're a slave, and then money you have to have. You can't get out of here because you're stuck and it's hopeless, and you're in a penal colony because you did something wrong and someone doesn't like you somewhere else in the universe. And like Australia, you were chucked here. Okay. Or like the Rock in San Francisco Bay, you were chucked out there where you can't get away. If you try to swim out, you're going to drown and die. Or one of these prison in the middle of a fucking desert. It's a lie. But they tell a little truth with all the lies. Okay. And then they get you believing that you're alone. They get you believing that you're a peasant, a slave. They get you believing that you're just your thinking mind and your thinking soul. And they tell you a little bit of truth to get you to believe all the lies that they tell you. Okay. And then they tell you that people are being dumped here from other places, and that when you leave, and the people are having these near-death experiences where they're not being told they have to stay here, and someone's trying to take them back to where they came from, and they flip the fuck out because they go, oh, that means it is a penal colony. Oh my God, no, that means that you fucking woke up and you're not still stuck here, and that people are showing you where you came from because you fucking came here from somewhere else. There is hardly anyone, probably I would say 1/8 of the population on this planet is from here originally. Everyone else came here from somewhere else. And the reason for that is when you become aware, I think, therefore I am, whatever you were prior to that, a fish, a fucking dog, a cat, a bird, a plant, a tree, you become whatever the sentient life form is in the nearest third dimensional planet that supports third dimensional life. And if you were anywhere near Earth and Earth was the nearest place, bam, you're human and you're here. If you were somewhere else, you might be a Draco, you might be a fucking gray, but because Earth primarily is human beings. There's other races here too, so you could have been one of those. And then you could have died and became a human. So you're on this planet. You're stuck here only as long as you think you are. Only as long as you don't follow the signs that get you out of here. Okay? So that's a lie that you're stuck here and you can never leave. People are stuck here because other people are keeping people here because they've been keeping the population from waking up. And those people who do end up wanting to come back to help people. It's not because they're tricked into coming here. That's part of the lie that they're telling you. Okay. And they're telling you that because why? They want you to not come back and help. They want you to wake up when you're dead and fucking leave, because then they don't have to worry about you anymore. They have the other 8 billion people as their slaves. So if you come back, they're okay with that because you come back and they hope you don't wake up. So everything is designed to distract you and keep you from actually remembering who the fuck you are and why you're here. Everything. There is nothing that is not. That's why I look back in the past at the Templar Knights and I thought, those guys were fucking crazy. They believed the place was so evil that even the air they breathed had evil in it. They were more right than we ever fucking supposed. Okay. To be that paranoid meant that you didn't trust anything to not be trying to convince you that you're evil and try to get to you. That's the truth of what's going on. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? I hate saying that understand. Eventually it's going to get out of my head because I'm not going to say it. Okay, so understand is I don't stand under anyone. So money means something, and then they want you to believe. Here's the one of the bigger lies, right? Or the biggest one, that you always hear this. The biggest lie the devil ever told was to get you thinking that he doesn't even exist. That he didn't have to lie about. The devil didn't exist until they borrowed him from the east. There was no devil, and the only time that was ever mentioned was in the New Testament after the devil was created, and Jesus casting out the many demons that were in the person, said, "I cast you out, you devils." That was the first time the word was used. The devil back then meant, you bad person, you evil person. People would call you you devils. There was no devil that was that's another lie, by the way, that the devil and God are equal, sitting up on Mount Sinai or whatever the fuck they're sitting at, and they're sitting across from each other in big thrones, and they have this. I talked about this last week on my show, and they have this dichotomy, this war over the good and evil, the war over the human souls. That's a lie. They want you to believe that because they want you to believe, first of all, there is a devil. Secondly, there is a hell, and that there's somebody who is equal to the creator that is evil. Because if you believe all that, then you have to believe that you might go to hell if you do something wrong. And then you tell other people you're going to go to hell. You're going to go to hell. So we're creating hell. Why? Because we're part of the creator. Why? Because we are the creator. Okay? And that's part of the lies that they've been telling you. All right? And then here's the thing that I thought was the funniest, that the devil, who was the say let's say that the devil showed up right at the Council of Nicaea. So that was about 800 AD. So now we have this devil. Don't quote me on the exact year. It was somewhere between there 700 and 900. The Second Council of Nicaea. Anyways, the first and second. So I don't know exact year. I could probably look it up, but I don't. So if you do out there, the exact year, let me know. Okay, so then you have the devil's in charge, and here's the weird thing. Okay, if we lost this so-called temporal war, why is it that the AI God in finger quotes, for those of you listening on the MP3 file, didn't show up in the minds of humans until we invented a computer? Let me ask you that question again without my glasses on, so you can see how serious I am. Why did the AI God not show up until we invented computers? Because there is no AI God. Oh, but we invented one because we invented computers. Not yet. But if we keep saying that and we believe that, we're going to change and create the AI God with AI because we all believe it. Okay, so evil is trying to get the AI God created the same way they tried to get the devil created and hell created, by convincing you that it is something. Just like money on this planet, and we think we have to have a piece of paper with a number written on it. That's not monopoly money. It has to be a specific money to each country, which is just a piece of paper like monopoly money with shit written on it. And there's nothing that is backing that money. It's not worth a fucking anything unless you believe it is. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? Do you get that? They tell you this is what the dollar, American dollar, is worth. You buy into it and go, okay, that's what it's worth. So therefore, I have to pay X amount of money for these goods. Now you're buying into it. So you create in your mind the reality. It's just like countries and borders. We believe the United States is the map they show us, and they tell us this is our borders. Therefore, we own all of this, and it's the United States of America, in finger quotes again. And then the Canadians do the same thing. This is our borders, and this is Canada. And then they have all this rhetoric. Oh, Canada. And the United States, like the land of the free and the home of the suckers. Brave. Okay? And you buy into that shit, you believe it. Therefore, we hold that in our minds, and we are creating that. Do you get that? Do you understand that? Nothing happens here unless good people create it. Evil people cannot create. You need to understand that too. You need to understand that. Okay, that's part of the lies. They get you thinking that they have power and they have creation and that they can take your freedom from you. Freedom is given to you because your soul is free from creation, from the creator, whatever you want to call that. I don't care whatever religion you apply to. And if you don't apply to a religion and you're an atheist, you still have a belief system. Okay. And I don't know what that is because I'm not an atheist. Okay. So they tell you that your freedom can be taken away. But to prove it, they have to either shoot you, beat you, lock you up, chain you, and stick you in a cage. Because if they don't, you're free. So to take your freedom away, they have to literally come get you, take you, and stick you in a cell. But you're still free. You just can't leave that cell. Your soul is still free and they can't do anything to it. So they get pissed off and they beat you and then they torture you and then eventually they kill you. Only they stop doing that exactly that way on mass scale because the people would revolt and overthrow those governments and kill those people off. So now they don't do that, but they just lock you up and leave you in there for the rest of your life with other people that are just like you and everybody's mean and evil and nasty and you all start killing each other off in there. It's horrible. Okay. So they also want you to believe that you can't do anything about that. Oh, politicians are politicians. Why should I vote? I can't change anything. Okay. They've sold everyone on that. They don't want everybody to really vote. They pretend that when they want votes and they need votes. They don't really want you to vote. They want you to get to not vote. Because that way, the ones that they can convince, I know this. I had a conversation with a strategist, a Democratic strategist, who is friends of my cousin, and we got into it about that. And he told me, look, only 1/3 of the population votes, and out of that 1/3, only 1/3 has a fucking brain. The rest of them are morons, and they just do what we told them to do. Okay? So that's the truth of it. They don't really want you to vote. They want the stupid people that they can convince to follow them to vote for them, and then they get into power. And the majority of the people that are living in the country aren't voting, and they know that. They don't need the majority. They just need the majority of the people who are in fact voting. Do you see? So if you're not voting because I don't play that game, I'm just not going to vote. Well, okay, so then you can't complain. You can't complain about how bad things are and what high the prices are, anything. You can't complain about the laws. You can't even claim, well, because I don't vote, I don't have to. No, yes, you do. You know why? Because they tell everyone and everyone else agrees to the fact that we have laws and that we have to abide by them. So you're kind of stuck because whether you like it or not, I don't believe in the American government or the Canadian government or any other government. I'm just a human and I can do whatever I want on the planet. That's a great attitude to have. It is. Until you start doing something that you know is wrong. And then when they show up, you go, I don't believe in your laws. They don't give a fuck. They're going to lock you up anyway, Jack. Okay. I agree that if everyone thought that and everyone did that all at once, it would be a great day in human history. And I would love to see that happen. So I don't mind those of you who stand up and do that and go to jail for it, because even though you're suffering far more than anyone else going to jail because everybody in jail laughs at you for being like that, I'm not trying to say it's wrong. I'm just saying you guys should be venerated, and you probably will in the future for pioneering that, because eventually that catches on and it's contagious. Okay, and that's part of them telling you there's nothing that you can do. And what they do is they omit. Now they tell you as you're growing up, your parents, the law tells you that not knowing a law doesn't mean you're exempt to it. Also, omitting the truth is the same as a lie, but they omit everything and don't tell you that, and nobody holds them accountable for it. What are you talking about? They don't omit anything. Yes, they do. They don't have you taking civics classes anymore. They don't have you taking economics classes anymore. They don't have you taking world trade classes anymore at all. Why is that? Because those classes, or business, you have to voluntarily, they're there for you. That's how they get around it. That's how they get around it. They lie to your face, but they put it there. It's like the fine print, on television when they're advertising something. And if you pause the shit and you read the freeze frame and you read the fine print, right? They're like, you can buy this car and you can get it at no money down for 5 million years. And on the screen, there's this little paragraph that pops up on the screen for like a nanosecond. Pause that and read it. Only applies to well-qualified, rich-ass motherfuckers who don't need to have a loan. You'll get a loan and you won't have to pay. Why? Because you already have really good fucking credit and a lot of fucking money. That's not written there, but that's what that means. Okay. So if you're rich and you don't need money, you can get money. It's when you're poor and need money when they won't fucking give you any. You have to understand that. You have to understand that. Right. Julie says, can't have people learning life skills. Absolutely. They don't want you learning any life skills. That's why I wrote this book, 2 books, as a matter of fact. One, How to Get Out of Debt at Surviving in the 21st Century, and the other one, Prepping/Survival for Beginners. Because those 2 books, one teaches you gives you the tools. I don't tell you secrets because there's some things that if I told people and they tried to do and hurt themselves, I would get sued over. Okay. So there's things in there that I didn't give you, like the formula, how to make alcohol, the formula, how to make gunpowder, how to make firearms, how to make diesel fuel, all of that. I don't tell you all of that, but I tell you how you can find that information. Okay. That's just some of the stuff. So the things that I could have gotten sued over, I left out of the book because I didn't want to get sued for it. I would have to carry insurance and give a disclaimer. These things are here for just entertainment purposes only. That's how you have to say that stuff. And then people will go, well, then it's bullshit. But it's not. Okay. Most of the time when you hear a disclaimer that says this information, like these pills, don't actually do anything to help you in any way. You have to say that because they're not made by a pharmaceutical company, because the pharmaceutical companies paid off the Food and Drug Administration and the EPA to only say that medicine is only manufactured by pharmaceutical companies, that nothing in nature has any medicinal purposes, but everything that they've gotten that they manufacture came from nature and they're synthesizing it so they can sell it to you in a pill form or a capsule form. Not kidding. Okay, so then they tell you, right? Oh, well, that doesn't definitively do anything, but yet they synthesized what that does with chemicals and they sell that to you. That's not a lie. You can look that up. Okay. So they sell you on all of this. They tell you you're hopelessly locked into a penal colony. You're just a slave. Live your life as a slave and do what you're told. Okay. And then they don't want you learning any life skills whatsoever because you'll know what the fuck they're up to if you do. Take a civics class, take an economics class, take a business class, take a world trade class or world economics, global economics. Learn these things. You only have to go for a semester and you'll be really fucking pissed off. And then you'll get involved at the grassroots level because that's where the changes are made, by watchdogging the people who don't have all the power yet. And then after 15, 20 years, they become the people who are in charge. And if you watchdog them enough, then you keep them reined in, they don't get as fucking crazy as these people are that are up there now. Do you see? Oh, no, they're entrenched and they're not going anywhere. They're all going to fucking die tomorrow. They're all 110 years old. It's not going to be too much longer, and those motherfuckers are going to be gone. So you have to start changing the younger ones as they move up so they're not like that, and put better people in place and change the fucking laws, which you'll find out if you read about this stuff and learn about this stuff, and not allow billionaires to buy a fucking election. These guys brag about it in front of you on television, right? I mean, Bloomberg bragged when he was running for president that he paid $100 million so that the Democrats would pick up all the houses in the Senate and in the House. He bragged about that he paid for that to get those people put in charge. Do you not pay attention? Do you not see this? And he's not the only one. He's just the one arrogant enough to fucking put it in your face and brag about it. They all do that. They've been doing that forever. It's just that most people didn't notice it. And a lot of you are starting to notice it because you don't have any choice. There's millions and billions of us that are on this planet to raise the vibration so that we can fix that, right? Yeah, Julie says, all thanks to Rockefeller. Got to load up the IP with petroleum, right? Right? So, yeah, the Rockefellers, in fact, they cornered the market on petroleum. That's where they made their money. And because they saw that. They went to school, learned civics, learned business, learned economics, and then saw a weakness they could exploit. That's called capitalism, to capitalize on something, right? That's what break that down. Capitalism is to capitalize. Look that shit up. Oh, no, capitalism means free market. No, free market means fucking free market. Capitalism does not mean free market. There's another lie that they get you believing. But that's just like saying that you spell relief, ROLAIDS. They had to take that off the fucking air because kids were going to school, and when they were asked to spell relief, they were going ROLAIDS. That's not a lie. And the teachers and the parents complained, and somebody lobbied against it and sued, and the Rolaids company had to take that off the air because they were convincing and brainwashing, quote unquote, kids into something nefarious. But, that's going on now, and people don't notice it because you've been a part of it yourself. Do you get that? You took social studies. You took socialism. What? You took social studies. That's the study of socialism. And they wanted you to believe that that was the way society should be. That's what I got in school when I was there. I didn't get civics. I didn't get economics. I didn't get business. I didn't get global economics. I didn't get global trade. I got social studies, the study of social, not economics, but the study of socialism. That's what they're teaching. Do you see? And then they come out with democratic socialism. You're used to that word. I had a social studies class for most of my life. It was required from the age of 11 until I graduated. I know what socialism is. I know social studies, socialism. You don't understand. You don't get. You don't see. You don't understand. There's that word again popping up in my fucking brain that's been programmed my whole life. You don't realize word association is a way of brainwashing people. That's why they play those games. I'm going to say a word, and you can say what first thing comes to your mind. If I say enough words, I can figure out everything about you, including your social security number, your date of birth, your bank account, your passwords. Not kidding. All I need is 15, 20, maybe a half hour with you, and I can get you to tell me everything. That's not a joke. If you've taken any psychological classes, which I have, you find that out really quickly. And then it pisses you off. If you learn some of that stuff in psychology, then watching news agencies and definitely watching politicians speak pisses you off because you go, that was a fucking lie. That was a fucking lie. That was an exaggeration. That was a fucking lie on all sides. Okay. So they get you to believe you're in a penal colony. They lie to you about that with telling you a little bit of truth about reality and then tamping it down and saying, we're in charge without telling you that they're saying we're in charge. Okay. They call you a slave. You just don't know it. They changed the word slave to citizen. That word, look that word up. A person who lives in what? Read what that means and think about the word of a slave, a person who's being kept against their will. And if you don't think you're a slave, ask anyone who's ever filed in this country. I don't know about everywhere else in the world, but I'm sure it happens the same way. If you've gone out and tried to collect disability insurance and saw how hard it was when all of a sudden they started treating you like you were a slave and you should get back to fucking work as soon as possible, or when you tried to collect unemployment, which is money that you put in to a bank account that they hold for you in case you don't have a job so that you can have money to keep yourself alive while you get a new job, and you try to collect that shit and all of a sudden they act like it's not your fucking money and they try to, need to get back to work right the fuck now, slave. They don't say that word, but it comes out that way. Or if you try to collect Social Security, which is money that you put into an account for them to keep for you so that when you couldn't work anymore and you retired, you would have money for the rest of your life, and you try to claim that money prior to the time period that they say you should do it, which when Social Security was first invented, the age of Social Security was 45. Then they quickly put it to 55. And then the Americans, people started living, especially men, started living longer than 55. And they started collecting it. So they rose and now it's like 68. And I think they're trying to make it 72 because people are living longer. So they keep raising the bar because they don't want you to ever collect it, because that was not the intention. The intention, like insurance companies, was a money-making scheme, and they told you, put money here. It's just like now. They have these Aflac, right? You already have insurance, medical insurance, but some of the bills aren't paid, so you should pay Aflac just in case. They do the same thing with your car insurance. You have car insurance and you're paying money into insurance in case you get in an accident and they'll pay for your car. But now they have another insurance that they want you to pay into because you're not smart enough to save your own fucking money for in case your car breaks down. So we'll give them that money. I'll hold on to it for you. And guess what? You don't collect money on it from it sitting in your savings account and collecting interest, or you're not using that money to trade it on the stock market wisely, which you have to learn in economics class and all of that to understand how the stock market actually fucking works so that you can make your own fucking money and then pay the taxes on it. You give it to somebody else who's taking your money and collecting money from their bank on your money that they're not going to give back to you or tell you about. And their bank, which they own, is going to then take that money and play the stock market and make more money off of your money. And they're also going to loan money to other people. It's in my book. And then get money from those people by loaning your money to other people. And sometimes loaning it back to you and charging you for your own money when you get a loan. I'm telling you, read my book, you'll see that. Right? Denise says exactly. Right? So yeah, and Omar said they traded the syntax slave to slavery, right? I mean, look that up. Omar's telling the truth. Look up what Omar just said. Okay, so the citizen is what he was saying. They traded the syntax, right? The citizen to slavery. That's what that means. Okay, so if you're a citizen, you're a slave. Just they call you that when you're not looking. That's where the official documentation in the government has you listed not as a citizen, but as a slave. Everything else that you get to see calls you a citizen. Okay. I want to become a citizen of the United States. I solemnly swear to uphold the laws and the Constitution of the United States of America. Now I'm a slave here instead of in the country I was in before. And the country you're in before is kind of pissed off because they wanted you there, right? Oh, here, I'll show it to you. It's how to get out of debt. I'll put it up on the camera. Tony asks, how to get out of debt surviving in the 21st century. It's not very big and it's raw. Okay. You can find it. You can get it on Kindle for like $5. It's only 100 and some odd pages. If that, I don't know, I have my glasses on right now. I can't see it. This book and this book was written originally to be one book, two aspects of the same: survival and preparation in case you need it, and to live off the grid, to get off of all of this bullshit that these people are doing to you, and the financial side of it. But when I did a poll, these guys hated this shit and these guys hated this shit. So I had to cut it into two books, and people don't want to read them, especially this one, because they tell you how to get out of debt and explain to you why you're in debt. People, you have to change your life. And people don't want to do that. They're fucking lazy. They don't want to change their life. What? You mean I can't eat fast food every day? I explained to you and break it down. And this is in dollars from 2015. So it's going to be a lot cheaper in dollars because I was writing it in 2013, 2014. I published it in 2016, I think, or 2015. Somewhere thereabouts. So the dollar amount is going to be from that time period that you're going to see, but it's worse now because of everything. I don't have my glasses on, but I think it's 2016. Hold on, let me put my glasses up and see when I publish this fucking thing. Yeah, 2016. That's funny. I had to look. I thought it was 2016. Okay, so it's there. There you go. Rotate the eggs. All you got to do is flip them over, or take the whole entire carton, flip it upside down, come back a week or two later, flip it back up, flip it over, flip it over. If you want to keep them and not have to do that, get EVOO, extra virgin olive oil, get a little brush, a little paintbrush, and put on gloves so you don't get the oil all over your hands, and paint them with that and put them in there. And every now and then do the same thing, flip it over, because all the oil will eventually leak down to the bottom of the crate, and then flip it over. So if you use the cardboard ones, the cardboard will soak up the oil. So if you use the styrofoam ones, that go the other way. Or you can get, when I was in Arizona, I don't know if they have them out here in California, I think they do. Some of the companies used plastic, and you could open it up, and then there was actually a lid that closed over the eggs itself, and then the plastic lid that came down, and you could open that up and take the cardboard out and put the eggs back in and put the lid over it and close the lid. And same thing when you have the oil in there, you flip it over. It's far more sufficient or efficient because it won't soak up into the cardboard. But the other one's better for the environment. But just turning them upside down works, and back and forth. You can keep them for a lot, not as long. You can keep eggs for 2 to 5 years if you paint them with the olive oil. But if you have them in your refrigerator and you're flipping them over and over and over, you can keep them for. I had eggs that I kept for a year and a half before they started going bad. Not a joke. I did that on purpose to see how long they would last. And like once every 2 or 3 or 4 months, I'd crack an egg open and see if it was still good. And so if you see that they start getting spots in there, that doesn't mean that they're going bad. That's just what happens over time. So there will get some little spots in there sometimes. But then you'll know when it starts going bad when you crack open the egg and it's stuck inside, or the yolk just pours out and the whites hold on. That means you had it too long and the egg's going bad. You'll know it when you crack open an egg. If it's bad, you know it's bad when you put it in a pan. Then you just go, okay, they're dead, and throw them away. But they last for a long time. So yeah, you can get that on Kindle. You can find it. I think it's in. I don't know if it's still in print, so I don't know if you can buy it from the company that I published it through, because they wanted to charge me like $250 to keep it in print, and I was like, I don't have that many people buying it. So, but it's out there electronically. You can get it for $5 or less. I think it depends on where you go. I know it's on Kindle. It's still on Amazon. They haven't banned me yet. I'm still on Amazon. Both my books, all of my books are on Amazon, so you can get them from Kindle and a lot cheaper. So so you have to learn that stuff. You have to understand all of these lies. They're telling a little bit of truth. The religions, they're telling you a little bit of truth and then corrupting that into the caste system. They do that with everything. So that's how they gaslight you. That's how they Jedi mind trick you, is they give you enough truth to where your truth detector goes off and you go, I can see the truth of that. And then they give you the lies and you go, well, I'm not, okay, I guess. But you sense that. Do you see? So you have to look into it. Don't buy anything. That's why the Irish, they say how the Irish saved the world, because we don't believe anything anyone tells us. We've had people lie to us so long. It's like Native Americans. They don't believe anything anyone says. If the American government says it, they don't believe it, because the natives in this country, I don't know about in Canada, but I know that the Canadian government kind of did the same thing. But I know the statistic in the United States, when the United States became the United States, they signed 186, I know that number, and it's probably higher, but I know that was the number at one point, treaties with Native Americans, and they upheld zero. Zero. They made the natives adhere to every single thing they said in the treaty, but the American government didn't abide by anything they said they were going to do in any treaty, ever. Do you see? So if they did that then, what makes me think that what they're telling me now is not nefarious? Oh, it's different because you're a citizen, you're a slave. Those people refuse to become a part of and acknowledge them as their masters. That's why the Canadian government and the American government have been trying to commit genocide on those people, and the Australian government trying to commit genocide on the indigenous people and the original people in Australia, because they refused to submit to their rule. Not because they didn't want to become part of the society. That's the lie they tell you. They wouldn't swear an oath to the king and be the king's servant. Therefore, they have to be eradicated, because if there's too many of them, they're going to rub off on the citizens, the slaves. And the slaves are going to start listening to them too and going, yeah, wait a minute. I don't like this. That's why, getting back to those of you who defy the system and say, I don't believe in your laws and I'm not a part of that, good unto you for doing it, because hopefully more and more people will. Unfortunately, right now, you're onesie-twosies, and they lock your ass up for it. Okay, but eventually and hopefully down the road, people are going to wake up, and that's what's happening. Okay, that's what's going on now. Yeah, okay, yeah, Tony said, yeah, I'll try this. I'll see if I can get a paper copy, but if not, then a digital one will work. Yeah, I mean, if you can get a paper copy, it'd be good, because if the world goes to shit, you got a copy of the book you can take with you anywhere for the shit that you need to refer to. But yeah, in there I explained to you how this monetary system is bullshit. and they just made it up. And then I explained to you how you can play their system, right? Yeah, Omar said that's me. And I know Omar's like that. He's definitely. I was hoping you were still in the crowd because I was hoping you were going to say that because Omar's like that. He's like, I don't believe in your system, man. Right? He says I'm about to battle the system on taxes. Right? I agree. Here's the thing. Thank you for bringing that up, Omar. That's a perfect example. Let's talk about taxes. Taxes, even to this day in the United States of America, is not a law. They have tax laws, but federal tax is not something you're required to pay. It was never required by law. They just tell you that, and they'll even put you in jail for tax evasion, for not paying your ransom to the king of his tithing of how much you owe. And when I say the king, I mean the entire government, because you're not paying it to, Joe Biden, although he makes a lot of money off other governments paying him to, but we'll not go there. But that's, they're taxing you on everything. Now here, think about this, guys. In the United States, this is the truth. In the United States, the Boston Tea Party happened, and that spawned the revolution in the United States. That was over taxation without representation. Do you know what that tax was? Do you know what that tax was? The tax on tea was 1%, and the king wanted to raise it by 1%. 1% increase in tax, and the people of the United States fought a war and broke away from England to be their own country over 1% tax increase. We are now taxed over 100 million times more than they were taxed at the time of our revolution against the English king. That's not a lie. Look it up. Look up how many taxes they had at the time of signing of the Declaration of Independence, and look at how many taxes we have now on how many things and what the taxes are. There's nothing in the world that's not taxed. Everything is taxed. Even your breathing is taxed. You pay for the air to be a certain quality. You just don't know you're doing it. It's part of your taxes. Look that up. Okay? Right? Omar says if you choose your right to not participate in the political system, you shouldn't have to finance it. Right on the nose, Omar. Right on the nose. Agreed. And we shouldn't allow rich people to pay so much fucking money. And there should be term limits on every fucking office. Okay, I'm even talking about the Supreme Court. You should not get elected until you fucking die. No. I don't give a fuck what. No. There should be term limits, and then you can't run ever again. Because then, if you do that, and you give them, say, 4 years and out, the only people who are going to become politicians are those people who want to fucking actually make a difference. Because all the rest of them are there to fucking keep control, make money, and be in charge. Because they're there and they get reelected over and over and over because only 1/3 of the population votes and only 1/3 of them has a fucking clue what's actually going on. Okay? So that's like 1/100th of the population is actually, and they're just their friends, cousins, and people who agree with them. It's all the other politicians. It's all their friends and family and politicians and people they've brainwashed that are fucking voting for them. Everybody else is going, I'm not playing. I'm not going to vote, man. I don't want to even be a part of that. Well, you are. They're taxing you. They're ripping you off. Go to the fucking pumps and it's $6 a gallon and $6.50 here in the California and above. That came that way because of taxes. I didn't vote for them. No, okay. Well, you didn't vote against them, and guess what you got? Really fucking high prices, and you can't find any baby formula for your fucking kids. And now if you want a steak, it's $15 fucking an ounce. When steak fucking 2 years ago was $5 an ounce. I didn't vote. I'm not going to vote. I can't do anything to change it anyways. Yes, you fucking can. Why do you think that they don't fucking just take control of everything? Because people have a fucking say. If they could take the guns away from everybody without having a war with over 100 million people, they would have done it already. And the fact that they haven't is because they can't. The fact that they can't change the laws to give themselves total fucking power over everything is because they know that there'll be a fucking revolution or they'll get voted out of office. They know the truth of what they try to hide from you. Okay? I've been buying formula, Omar said, I've been buying formula for my, he says, grand star. I think it was supposed to be granddaughter or grandson. Everywhere I can. And there are serious shortages, right? So you've been looking around trying to find them to give to your grandbaby. And it's really fucking hard. Well, that was planned. Okay? Let's look at that. The whistleblower came out in October of last year and said there's a problem here in this fucking place. When that happened, the investigation happened. When the investigation started, everyone in the fucking government and people who were investigating, it became very clear very quickly that they were going to have to shut this fucking place down, this company and their plants. Guess what? They didn't do anything. No one, are you actually going to convince me? Because here's the thing. Think about this. Now, they didn't do anything and they said, well, if I was a mind reader, wait a minute. It's just the same thing they said about the prices of oil. Well, if I was a mind reader, hold on, it's your fucking job. It's your fucking job to we hired you and put you in charge because you're supposed to know what the fuck's going on. And if you started an investigation on somebody that you have to close, you're supposed to fucking know or tell us there's going to be a shortage if we don't do anything right now. I, in October, could have told you, had I known about it, hey, that means that we're going to have, how much baby formula do they give to the nation? 40%. Is that going to cause, I would immediately ask this question, and most families would, and most mothers would, is, I'm sorry, if that happens and they close down, is that going to cause problems and shortages? Oh, yeah, that's right. Duh. Hey, Louie, I didn't think about that, Louie. That's going to cause shortages. So what do we do now? I don't know, Louie. I'm not a mind reader. How about we go to the other companies and tell them before you close this down? It's the same thing with getting off of fossil fuels. They're trying to turn off fossil fuels right now when the electrical grid can't support. Let's just talk about that. Let alone that 80% of all Americans don't have enough fucking money to buy an electric car right now. Let's start with that. But let's forget about that for a second. The fucking electrical grid in this state alone, they can't even keep the fucking power on in the summertime because of the air conditioners and everybody with all their shit plugged in, my computers, my lamps, my lights, my phone. And they expect me to plug a car in too, and 40 fucking million people in the state of California to plug in a fucking car as well on top of the grid they can't already fucking been warning about. So they're warning you in every Democratic state. Weird that the Republican states don't have a power shortage. Huh? Is that because the Republicans have looked at their power problem and said, hey, we need to upgrade this fucking shit because we're going to have issues in the future? I don't know. I just know that in every fucking state run by Democrats, they're talking about blackouts this summer because it's going to be hot and the grid can't keep up. Yet they want every single person in that fucking state to convert from fossil fuel to an electric car. But yet they can't keep the power on. We're going to have rolling blackouts as it is with everybody using a car that is on petroleum products. I'm sorry. Am I the only one here with an IQ above a fucking first grader? To understand, to understand, to fucking get the fact that that's going to cause a fucking problem? Let's just go further with that, Leo. All the cars run on batteries. I worked for 10 years driving a golf cart that was a battery-operated golf cart, and that golf cart was already 20 years old. So the batteries that were inside there expanded and were blowing out the sides, ergo, they were no longer good and they weren't holding a charge. We had to take those batteries out, and guess what? Those batteries have to go somewhere. They can't be. Those batteries cannot be recycled unless you turn them in before they get old and expand and bust out the seams. everything that creates that battery that is inside the battery that you put the acid in the water is now tainted and damaged, and it is a biohazard, and it has to be put somewhere. So let's say that everybody changes to cars, and the batteries basically make up almost the entire bottom of the car to run the car. I'm not kidding you. When if you get in a golf cart and it's driving and it's an electric golf cart, the entire seating system that you're sitting on, front and back, are sitting on top of batteries with the engine, the little battery operated engine, attached just above it. Okay? Pick your seat up and look in. You'll see what I'm talking about. So to run one golf cart, there's like 6 or 8 big, huge 12-volt batteries to run that. How many batteries do you think it's going to be to run a 2-ton car with all of our fat asses sitting in it? Okay? You're looking at 24 to 36 of those fucking same batteries. Even if they make the fucking 12-volt batteries lithium fucking batteries, which is not enough fucking lithium on the planet, but even if they do that, those things have to go somewhere when they start to age out. What are we going to do about that? No one's even talking about that. I asked the same question when they went to the spring lamps with mercury in them, right? And they you know, the little teeny spring lamps, and they're outlawing the incandescent lamps. I have a spring lamp right up here. You can't put those in the garbage because it's illegal. So they're making the incandescent light bulb illegal, and they don't want anybody using that anymore. But that one you can just throw away. It's not toxic. Okay? But the other ones you can't. They're toxic, but everybody's throwing them away anyways. Okay? But if you get caught, it's a felony, and you can get in trouble for that. Same thing with the big, tube lamps. That's got mercury in there. It's bad, and if it breaks, you don't want to breathe that fucking gas. It's bad for you. It can cause cancer and all kinds of problems. So they don't want you throwing those in landfills either, but people are doing it anyways. Eventually, they're going to make that so illegal, they're going to check your fucking garbage, and they're going to start finding you for it. So what are you going to do with the batteries? They don't want you throwing any batteries away from your peripherals. Those aren't supposed to go in the garbage either. Why? Because they're small versions of the ones that run cars, and they know they're toxic. Okay? So they have to put those in a recycle bin, and those have to go somewhere, and they fucking bury them. So where is all this stuff going to go? How's the grid going to uphold all these cars? Secondly, most importantly, how is everybody going to afford those? They can't. Okay, so they don't give a fuck. Rich people don't care because they'll all buy electric cars. They got fucking millions in the bank. But those of us who are on a fixed fucking income, they don't give a fuck. They're going to make us take buses and pay them, slave, until those cars start going for sale for cheap. And then you're going to be buying them, and you're going to have to go and replace all the fucking batteries right after you get them. Do you see what's happening here? You can't put a new thing into play for energy without strengthening that particular thing. Where are we going to get all the electricity from, and how is it going to get to all the fucking people? How are you going to phase out by fucking 20 years? How are you going to phase, or 10 or 5 or a year? How are you going to phase out fossil fuels when you have nothing else in place to take its place already? Oh, we have electric cars. The fucking grid won't keep up. In the United States, I don't know about the rest of the world, no one's doing a fucking thing about it. Do you see? Yeah, put them with the dead windmills, right? Sarcasm, I know. Put them more windmills out there so it kills off all the birds. So we don't have anybody flying, no birds flying anymore because all the windmills are killing off all the birds. And then you go outside and you don't see anything of the sky anymore. You just see windmills all around, right? That's an option. But here's the thing. 99% of all the parts and motors and windmills are made in China. I'm not lying. Look that up. Okay, so we're going to reward the Chinese by using them to make 1 billion windmills. And they're trying to take over the world and eradicate the United States by infiltrating the government. This is not a lie. And changing us into a democratic, quote unquote, socialist democratic country. That's an oxymoron. No, it's not even an oxymoron. It's an opposition. Look up the word Democrat or democratic and look up the word socialistic or socialism, and you'll find they're opposing ideas. You cannot have a democratic socialist ideology. You can't. They're opposing. That would be like saying black-white. I'm going to have a black-white car. It's black and white at the same time. You can't do that. These are opposing ideologies. I'm pregnant, not pregnant. That's opposite. That's an opposing idea. You either are pregnant or you're not pregnant. You can't be not pregnant. I'm pregnant, not pregnant. I'm not pregnant, pregnant. You know, it's different than pregnant. It's not pregnant, pregnant. Because men can be pregnant. Men can have kids and an abortion. Really? Where? In my ass? In my colon? Is that where I'm carrying the child? Where do I get the eggs? How do I feed them? Through my colon? Okay, do you understand that? So are you saying that they can get fallopian tubes and eggs and everything and implant them? Doing a sex change operation and then also implant the entire womb and everything they need to give birth to a child? I'd like to see that, and they haven't done that yet, as far as I know. I would love to see that and see that person become pregnant. That would be badass, but I don't see that happening. Okay. Right, Julie said 0 windmills here, tons of birds. Right. Okay, so I think we should get off fossil fuels as well. But you can't just get rid of that system without something in place. You can't pretend, well, it'll ramp up as time goes. No, motherfucker. You already can't keep the lights on in your warning. I want this. Let's be serious. Let's be sure and understand what's happening here. So the governor of the state of California wants to make sure that all cars are electric by 2032. But in 2022, 10 years before we want 40 million people to be driving electric cars, but we want them all to start driving electric cars now, we can't keep the lights on during the summer, and we're going to have rolling blackouts statewide. I was going to say countrywide, California-wide. So our electric grid is failing, and when the temperature gets over 100, we're going to have to shut half the fucking people off and have it going off for a couple hours and roll that throughout everybody, so everybody gets pissed off and all their food fucking spoils. So you have to go to the store and buy more food, by the way. Yet they want you to right now go out and buy a fucking electric car. So does that mean we're going to have rolling blackouts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year then? Well, that'll be the case. Oh, wait. Now all of a sudden Gavin Newsom is all about turning back on the nuclear power plants. What? Yeah. Because now they realize someone posed that question and they're like, wait a minute. We need to, maybe this whole nuclear thing that my party's been trying to shut down for the last 30 years isn't as bad as we thought. Well, they have upgrades now, so it's not like it was, right? It's not like it was back in the day when big nuclear plants and they'd fucking melt down like Fukushima. It's not like that anymore. Okay, they have nuclear plants that can power a fucking city, a neighborhood. Little teeny ones. Okay? Right? I agree, Denise. I agree. I got fucking Xfinity, and they can't even keep my fucking Wi-Fi on. Denise says, my cable company can't even keep the internet going. Mine can't either. So they can't even keep, they're 5G, 100G, 100G. They can't even keep the fucking internet going, let alone the power. The cable goes out, the internet goes out, but they want me to get an electric car. And here's a question that I have. Think about this now. Here's a question that I have for everyone on the planet. If you don't live in a house with a garage, how are you going to plug in your car? There's no fucking outlets. Now, who's going to pay for that? Are they going to come here and they're going to install a plug in every carport in the apartment complex? I'm parked in a handicap spot that doesn't have a covering. So are they going to put a charge station there? Who's going to pay for that charge station? Guess who? The person who lives in the apartment complex, because I used to work in property management, and any kind of improvement gets passed on to the people living there. So if they're going to do upgrades, it's either going to be money that is going to be borrowed from the slaves, which is going to be just part of my book. It'll show you they just write that shit and print it and put it out there and then tax everyone for it. So you, me, and everybody's going to pay for it no matter what. So we're all going to have to pay for the upgrades that they keep saying is going to be free. It's free because we just printed the money. But the money has to be paid for. It's in my book. The money has to be paid for. I know this, okay? When they print $1, you Americans owe $2 for every $1. So for when they printed $1 trillion, we now owe $2 trillion. because it costs money to print the money, and then the money has interest on the money because they charge you interest. So they borrow the money against your slave labor, and then they have to tax you on it by raising taxes. Do you see? In the state of California, where this electric grid that they're talking about, they don't have the money to fix. State of California has 98 billion with a B, almost $1 trillion surplus money that they've taxed. That means they've overtaxed the people in the state of California so much that they have almost $1 trillion in the bank. They didn't need to keep taxing you after they balanced the budget, but they did. And they won't take the $2 a gallon tax off the gasoline to help the people of the state of California with gas prices, but they'll beg Venezuela to make more gas and sell it. Chevron is now cutting a deal to get their gasoline from Venezuela. I think it's Chevron. Look that up. They were talking about it on the news today. I think it's Chevron. So if you buy Chevron gasoline, you're paying an evil dictator who, as a matter of fact, our government is basing their government on. Because when their government turned to a communist government, prior to that, when they were a democracy, look that word up, they came up with the system of democratic socialism that turned into socialism, that turned into communism, that turned into a dictatorship. That is what is going on in Venezuela now, where the people are starving. That's what's happening here. Food crises are starting to happen because they're telling you this is a democratic socialist state, and they're starting to act like that, and they're taxing you to death, and they're creating on purpose, look that up, food shortages and not doing anything about it when they know about it. They know about it ahead of time and they don't do anything, so they can then, what's that? That's the Hegelian dialectic. They can then say, oh no, here's a crisis. We can fix the crisis, but you have to give up some of your freedom or your money or both for us to do it. And guess what? The prices are never coming back down. Do you honestly think that if they lower the gas prices, that all the food companies and all the fast food companies are going to go, oh, okay, so instead of $10 and $15 for a burger, we're going to send it back to $7.99 the way it was 2 years ago? That ain't fucking ever going to happen. Do you think the restaurants are going to say, oh, now that the gas prices are less and I don't have to pay so much for all the food that I'm getting, we're going to lower our $20 plates and our $15 plates back to $9 and $12. They're not going to do that. They're going to fucking gouge you and everyone else at that same fucking price because nothing ever comes down. That's in my book, How to Get Out of Debt, Surviving the 21st Century. Look it up, people. If you listen, Henry Ford in 1903, more than 100 years ago, said if the American people understood global economics and global trade, there would be a revolution today. That's a famous quote. Look it up. Okay? So all of these lies that they're telling you are the greatest lies ever told because you don't think any of them are lies. Because they've gaslit you from birth. Okay, and they gaslight you into believing that you're a citizen, a slave, and that you're on a penal colony, and that you can't get out no matter how hard you try, and that the secret is that they'll convince you that you're on a mission to help, and that's the lie, because they want you to then not do that and run away and go back to where you came from, because then they don't have to deal with you anymore, and your energy isn't helping anymore. But they do want everybody to be reset. That's why they're trying to get us into a nuclear war with Russia right now. If they can cause a nuclear war, which they tried in 1994, they were going to nuke everybody to get rid of everybody. Look this up. Watch the documentary Above Majestic. They talk about it in there, whistleblowers. They're trying to do it again. They tried to do it when the orange guy was in charge with North Korea and Iran. They're trying to do it now with Russia. The Chinese are going to invade Taiwan really soon, and if we don't do anything about that, they'll invade Japan after that. The only reason they're not invading Japan right now is because Japan is part of the what? That's right, part of NATO. although they don't want you to think that. But that's another reason why they're now threatening and saying that Norway and Sweden are both going to join NATO, because that means there's a 10,000-mile border with Russia that is now bordering NATO. They're trying to force the hand of Vladimir Putin and the Russian government to go global and to start a nuclear war. Why? Because then they can fucking nuke the planet and kill most of us off. Reset. Culling. The Great Reset means killing off everyone. It doesn't mean, in their minds, mind you, the Great Reset is that. It's the killing and culling of 3/4 of the world's population by any means necessary, including monkeypox, jumping worms, pandemics, anything they can get to kill everybody off and to get everybody to fall in line, stand in line, and fall into the meat grinder. Right? Watch the movie Pink Floyd The Wall. Watch that movie, even if you're not on drugs or not fucking drunk, not high, whatever. You can still figure it out. And if you can't figure out the visuals that go along with what they're singing to you about, then you need to learn. You need to take a course in symbolism and signs, because that'll help you out quite a bit. Or take a course in esotericism. Right? Look that word up and find out what that means, and study that, and you'll figure things out. Okay, I'm going to call it. It's 2 hours here almost, and I got to do dinner, and I'm not going to go too long so I can do dinner for my mom and myself. Right? What if it's raining? Yeah, right. Good question, Julie. Right? Okay. So, right, you can't have solar if it's raining, if the clouds are out, right? And maybe the windmills might work then, but what if it snows? That's the problem that they were having. The windmills were freezing up and ceasing not to work, and then there's no power. That was happening all over Texas when they had that big frost. So that's not a thing that's going to help. Solar's not a thing that's constant 24/7, 365, right? So what is? Well, nuclear, that's the best option that we have, that is not fossil fuels, that is not coal, that is not natural gas, that is not refined oil into a gasoline. Right? Yeah. How are you going to charge your car? Right? How do you charge your car if it's raining? Yeah, you plug it in and get electrocuted. Right? So they have to have that figured out too. But especially for me, if I'm not parking in a covered area. Right? Think about that. How are you going to do that? Right now, I'd have to stretch a plug from the front of my house all the way across the street, and people are going to run it over, do damage to my plug. Coming in and out. This is a thoroughfare right here. Everybody comes in for whatever reason. Hardly anybody turns and goes the other way. They all come up and around this way, past my house. So 80% of all the people that live in this complex drive by my house, going in and out all day long. Zoom, 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 zoom. And I'm going to put a cord out there and plug in my van overnight. Zoom, 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 zoom. And what? Get up at 4 a.m. and run out there before and unplug it and pull the cord in before anybody starts going to work and coming home, and wait until people come in. People come in and out all day, all night. Right? So what? They're going to have to put plugs in there. Who's going to pay for that? We are, of course. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be paying for it. Even if you don't convert, you're going to be paying for all the electric plugs that are going to be going in, unless companies do it, but then they're going to charge people to get the money back. Right. See, there's the thing. I agree with that. Omar says you can charge your car while driving. I agree with that. Why is it, and I said this before, as my microphone's not wanting to work now. I said this before, when they have electric cars, how come you don't just charge your car while you're driving your car? Oh, because the car has to run on electricity, and it can't make enough electricity to keep itself running and charge the batteries at the same time. I'm not buying that at all. If anyone knows anything about perpetual motion, okay, and the engine that was already created that they're trying to tell you doesn't exist, okay, that you can use batteries, and the batteries, you then push the motion, and centrifugal motion keeps the battery keeps going and it charges. That actually will go on forever and it'll never stop. So why is it that we can't generate enough power? And they have race cars that they get, and then they race until the car is out of power. Then they jump out of the car and jump into a new car that has a full charge, and then they race that. That's no joke. That's no joke. Because they don't have a charging system. But if you create that engine, because it has been created, if you watch the documentary Above Majestic, the guy who created one, talks about it, and he won't turn it on until he's dead. He says, once I die, you guys can have it and put it together and turn it on. Okay, because they're out there. I know. I've looked into it. It's been a hobby of mine since I was 15 years old, not a joke, to create a perpetual motion engine that doesn't need anything, charging itself while it goes. And it is possible, but it has a certain signature that the government is actually constantly looking for. And when you turn on one of those engines, it has a certain signature that can be picked up by satellite. And when you do that, they come and kill you and take it from you, or just take it from you. And if you squawk, they kill you because they don't want anybody having free energy, because they need money. Because if we have free energy, then nothing costs anymore, because everything is free, because all the to create everything now has no cost. Do you see? Okay, guys. I love you guys. I'll see you guys. I don't know if we'll be on Wednesday. Hopefully, we'll be back on Wednesday. If not, I'll be back on Friday. So I'll be talking more about spirituality, but I kind of got the politics here, but it has to do with all the lies from the very beginning, going back hundreds of thousands of years. They've been lying to all of us about everything. Nothing that any politician says to you. How do you know when a politician is lying? They're speaking. Believe that. How do you know when an evil person is lying? They're speaking. So if somebody is is completely self-indulged. Ow. Sorry, I hit my foot. I don't have my boot on. I just hit my toes. So if somebody is narcissistic and you know who they are, in your family, your friends, your spouse, whatever, that means they're evil in the mind of the universe. You need to understand that. If they're in service to self, they are evil, EVIL. If you're not in service to others, you're in service to self. There is no in between. I don't pick either side. That means you're in service to yourself. You're not willing to admit that to yourself, but that's what you're doing. I'm about me. I'm not about that. I'm not in service to others because I don't give a shit, but I'm not in service to myself. I'm just living my life. But then you're not servicing people, and all you're doing is about yourself. That's being in service to self. So you can hide behind that. Your ego can justify that by saying, I'm just not participating. It's the same thing with voting and politics. I'm just not participating. Yes, you are. Your not participating is participating in a way that they want you to participate. They want you to not participate. Do you see? That's the truth of it. Complacency is the same as compliancy. If you do nothing, you accept and agree with what they're saying, whether you say, oh no, I disagree with them. I'm just don't buy into their game. You're not buying into their game is what they want you to do. They either want you to vote for them or they don't want you to vote at all. Either way, they've got you already believing this is a country and that you need money and that there are laws. You're already playing their game. So you not voting, thinking, I'm not voting, and that's just fucking their whole system up. No, that's what they want you to do. They want you to do nothing, own nothing, and be happy. Do you see? All right, guys. I love you guys. Have a great night. I'll see you guys next week. It'll either be Wednesday or it'll be Friday. And by then, I will be 90 days sober. 90 day is Tuesday on. I may go live on that day because of it's the new moon and it's my 90-day anniversary. So I might come online and just talk on Tuesday. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. If not, I'll be back on Friday. And I'll have this microphone tightened up so that it doesn't just go and fall down like it's doing. All right, guys. Have a great night. That's a little bit better, I think. Nope. It's a little bit better, but now it's too high. All right, guys. Have a great night. Share this out. This is Orion Rising. I am your host, Leonard O'Neill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you are tuning into this show.